I'd like to call the February 13th Village Board of Trustees meeting to order. Could we have a roll call, or a roll, please, clerk?
Trustee Saldana?
Here.
Trustee Eck? Here. Trustee O'Laughlin? Here. Trustee Donnersberger?
Here.
Trustee Svetka?
Here.
Trustee Gazis? Here. President Amy Jo Wittenberg?
Here. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight, I have invited, during my president's report, one of the members from the Wolf Road study team, Matt Gaziak from Strand Engineering. And I know that the study team and the CAC and all of us have spent a lot of time together on the Wolf Road project, but the trustees here on the dais may or may not have as much current knowledge about the project. So I thought it would be a good idea for not only the trustees, village staff, and the audience to go through a summary of where we are with the project. And most recently, we have gotten feedback that was collected and is completely public now on wolfroadstudy.com. We've been able to compile the feedback that we have gotten regarding the 3 road design alternatives, which were presented in December. So Matt is going to go through a presentation today, and we appreciate you coming this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll make sure I stand close. The information that I'm going to share on the screen and cover here is mostly information that is from the presentation at the public meeting that was in December. It just condensed to provide a recap. But what we're trying to do here today is really just discuss the different alternatives, discuss the feedback, and share it with some of the members of the village board who are not as involved with the project. So, hold on, I'm going to adjust a little bit. Okay, so to give a summary of, is this better? Okay, so how do we get here today? So looking back at the study history, it goes back to March 2019, which is when Indian Head Park began a feasibility study to evaluate adding a sidewalk and or a shared use path along Wolf Road within the municipal limits, which was 72nd Street to Plainfield Road. And funding for that was provided through a Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways grant, which was called Invest in Cook. And Strand was the one that did that feasibility study, and in November 2019 is when we concluded that study, and the conclusion was that adding the sidewalk and or a shared use path would be better accomplished with other corridor improvements such as pavement, drainage, bridges, intersections, things like that. So with the support of Cook County, we began a larger phase 1 study, which was more comprehensive and looked at those additional things that I mentioned, like the roadway and the drainage. So in September 2020, we began the phase 1 study to evaluate those corridor-wide improvements. And the study limits were expanded to connect 2 Cook County routes, which were 79th Street to Plainfield Road. And then moving on to April of 2022 is when the study team held the public information meeting number 1 to present the preliminary alternatives, which I'm sure many of you in the room were involved with the project at that time. Remember, there was a lot, it was held in the room here. There was a lot of feedback that was provided to the team, and due to the amount and type of feedback that was provided, we determined that a more robust public involvement was needed to to gather feedback and understand the needs of the community as we move forward. So in fall 2022 is when, with the support of Cook County, there was additional funding that was provided, and so we kind of expanded the public involvement process. And that involved establishing and implementing a public involvement plan, which detailed exactly how we were going to engage the community to all the feedback, which involved launching a study website, offering additional feedback opportunities to the public, establishing and holding the corridor advisory committee meetings, and then also revising the preliminary alternatives based on this additional feedback. So now, the next couple slides will just provide an overview of the 3 alternatives that we were considering. But for the alternatives, there is only one roadway configuration, which is consistent across all the alternatives. And that involves one northbound travel lane, one southbound travel lane, and a 2-way left turn lane with dedicated turn lanes at the intersections. And with that roadway configuration, it also involves curb and gutter with an underground storm sewer system to collect all of the drainage. And what does vary between the alternatives is sidewalk and or shared use path. So the different alternatives that I'll talk about in the coming slides involve either a 5-foot wide sidewalk, an 8-foot wide shared use path, and those have a minimum 5-foot buffer between the roadway and either the sidewalk or the shared use path. So the first alternative is what we call the baseline sidewalk alternative. Starting from the south and moving north between 79th Street and 72nd Street, there was a mix of new sidewalk and existing sidewalk that we were filling in the gaps. And then once we got to 72nd Street, there's only sidewalk on the west side of the road. And then north of Joliet Road up to Plainfield, there is new sidewalk on the west side of the road, and then nothing on the east side of the road up until the Acacia Drive North intersection, where it was mostly existing sidewalk and then filling in a small piece to get to the Acacia Drive intersection. The alternative 2, which we are calling the full sidewalk, that is very similar to the first alternative, except on the east side, we carried that sidewalk from Acacia Drive down to Joliet Road. But otherwise, south of Joliet Road, it was the exact same. And then the third alternative involved a shared use path. So back to the southern part of the corridor with 79th Street. So from 79th Street up to 72nd Street, there was a new shared use path on the west side of the road. And then the east side of the road was mostly existing sidewalk with a little bit of new sidewalk to fill in a gap. Between 72nd Street and Joliet Road, on the west side, the shared use path is continued up to Joliet Road, and then it crosses over and continues on the east side up until Plainfield Road. And then between Joliet and Plainfield, there's new sidewalk on the west side. So giving a little bit of an overview of why we made that changeover from the west side to the east side, north of Joliet, is that we reached out to the LaGrange Highlands School District 106 and collected data that showed that the majority of students attending Highlands Elementary and Middle School live on the east side of Wolf Road. And then also there are fewer driveways and entrances on the east side of Wolf Road, which will reduce the number of conflict points between pedestrians and bicyclists and vehicles. So now we're getting into some of the new information that is available on the wolfroadstudy.com, but is mostly new for people here tonight. So at the public meeting number 2 that we held in December, between that meeting and then 1 month later, which was kind of our open comment period, we had 114 individual comments that were submitted, which consisted of 92 emails, 17 comment cards, 5 voicemails. And those comments, as I'll show in the next slide, cover a number of different topics, and many comments touched on a couple different topics per comment. In addition, there were 4 petitions that were collected. The Safe Accessible Routes for All, which had 126 signatures, and that as we were looking through the number of people that signed it, of the 126, there were some that were outside of Indian Head Park, as trustee.
More than half
Yeah, do you have the exact
were
numbers there,
outside
Charlie?
of Indian Head Park.
So outside of Indian Head Park, it could have been Burr Ridge, it could have been Western Springs. There were some that were coming as far as Dallas, as Charlie pointed out to us, but we don't know the connection of the people that were providing, their signature on here. So as a study team, we're collecting all data, but that is a point that we're going to note on the summary on the website, that there are people that were providing feedback from both within Indian Head Park and outside. For the Acacia Association Townhomes, there were 69 signatures for that petition. The Ashbrook Townhome Association, there were 51 signatures. And then I have a slight update to the number on there, thanks to Jackie and the crowd who helped me get more accurate numbers. But the Ashbrook Estate Homes, I think there was 22 signatures from there. So slight update to what the slide shows. Okay, and then this is a, actually zoom in a little bit. Okay, this is a summary of all the different comments comment categories that the 114 comments talked about. So there are 21 different categories that we categorized these in, and if you add all of these up, they do add up more than 114, because if a single talked about 3 different items, maybe they had support for alternative 1, they were negative about the medians, and they had concerns about trucks along the corridor. So we kind of had one tally in each of those different buckets. As you can see, the categories that had the highest, with 43% of the people submitting comments talked about their support for alternative 1. A little bit further down, with 11%, was the support for alternative 3, and then at 8% was the support for alternative 2, and then 4% for positive about alternative 1 or 2. So we were able to collect all of the individual comments and really break them down into what was their message, what were they, what bucket were they kind of falling within. And then in here, I will not read all of the words on the screen. These are available on the wolfroadstudy.com, but this is just the text of each of the petitions showing the number of signatures. So this is showing the Safe, Accessible Routes for All petition with 126 signatures. The Acacia Association, which had 69 signatures. And then the Ashbrook Townhome Association with 51 signatures, Ashbrook Estate Home Residential Association with 22 signatures. Again, different than what's shown on screen, thanks to an updated count. And then one final thing that is in the up on the screen here is kind of like a matrix that evaluates the different alternatives based on how they compare for meeting the study goals, and then also some of the impact. So the different colors, the green is kind of the performance in a category, the yellow is average performance, and then the red signifies the relatively lowest performance. So looking at the alternatives 1, 2, and 3, looking at the first, or the second column rather, they all accommodate the 2050 travel demand, and they improve operational efficiency along the corridor. Because they all have the same roadway section, they all get a green, operating the best. One moves to the next one, improving traffic safety and operations for all users. For the vehicles, it all gets a green because it's all accommodating them the exact same. For the pedestrians, because the baseline does not fully connect the communities with pedestrian accommodations on both sides of the road. That operated a little bit less than the full sidewalk or shared use path because it was making connections along the corridor. And then for cyclists, alternative 1 and 2 with the baseline and full sidewalk were operating poorly because there's really no change from what's out there today. They're not really accommodating bicyclists, but the alternative 3 with the shared use path does accommodate bikes, so that was operating the best. It's kind of a similar thing for improving the connectivity for pedestrians and cyclists as the previous 2 items that I talked about. And then all of the alternatives reconstruct and update the roadway, structures, intersections, and drainage infrastructure along the corridor. So looking at just those evaluation criteria, it may be reasonable to think that, well, okay, alternative 3, shared use path, is all green and meets the goals the best. It meets the goals the best, but adding in some of the impacts of that, the next column is the land acquisition needs, which would be either easements that are needed to construct the items or permanent right-of-way that would be acquired by Cook County. So alternative 1 and 2 have the same, moderate impacts due to right-of-way or easements, and then alternative 3, with its slightly bigger footprint, does impact more properties and operates the worst. And then looking at the last column, the public support based on the public meeting number 2 feedback. As shown in the previous slides, there is the most support for alternative 1, which is why it has the green, and then about the same support for alternative 2 or 3, which is why it has the yellow. And that is it for my presentation. So I guess I can turn it back over to Mayor Wittenberg for any further discussion or commentary.
I do have a question.
One note is that on wolfroadstudy.com, you can see all of the comments that have been made public from the spreadsheet. So if it was an email, those emails were put in a online Google Sheet that is read-only. So you can see all the comments that were provided, email. They got a couple voicemails. Those are all in there, too. And there's tabs on the bottom. So you have to go to the tabs on the bottom to see the other comments or calls or emails or the analog postcard type of feedback that was given. So please take a look at that. It was very interesting to read everything, to see the comments that our community had about the project. Any questions from the trustees?
I do have one. For 1 and 2, approximately how many homes are impacted for the land acquisition?
How many homes or how many properties?
How many properties? Or are any homes
No,
impacted?
in all the alternatives, there are no homes that are impacted,
Okay.
which is different than 3 years ago when we were
Yes,
looking at the previous alternatives. So there are no homes that are impacted. These are slides that are that were in the bigger public meeting number 2 presentation. I want to say that on the right-of-way, which is the actual acquisition, like permanent acquisition, the alternative 1 and 2, I believe, had 15 parcels that were impacted, and the alternative 3 had 25.
And then there's also temporary
And then the
acquisition.
temporary easements, which is basically land that the contractor would need during construction to accomplish some grading or for access. And those were all the same at about 75 or so. And this is us trying to take a worst case scenario. Once we select an alternative, the goal is to keep the footprint to as minimum as possible, because every parcel that is impacted, that's additional money and time that the county has to spend to negotiate with that landowner to acquire that land. So the goal would be to impact no properties whatsoever, but we are anticipating that it is going to be part of the
So I don't understand that. How do you not impact the properties if you're going to go, especially with alternative 3, if you're putting sidewalks on, you're coming awful close to those homes.
Yeah, so I guess in an ideal case, on any project, if you can avoid it, you can. But sometimes, as you mentioned, the footprint is bigger than it is today, and so then if you are impacting it, you can do things like maybe if there was a need for a retaining wall, which would cost more money, but then avoid impacting that property versus a sloped something that was graded out.
So I just have a concern sometimes is because I know what happened with the tollway. They say one thing and another thing happens and it does impact the residents. So that's why I'm concerned about as far as the residents on Wolf Road as well, that you're saying that we could impact 15, but to what extent?
Yeah, for most of them, it's like a 5-foot strip of land along the very front or back of their property, depending on where it would be. But again, until we select the actual alternative we're moving forward with, that's when we'll be able to dial it in and actually figure out the extent of that.
Yeah, because I mean, 5 feet for some people is going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Going into their back of their yard.
Yeah, and it's important to note that along the corridor, Cook County owns at a minimum of 66 feet wide, which would be 33 feet on the left side of the road, 33 feet on the right side of the road. At most, they own 100 feet, so it would be 50 feet from the center of the road each side. So that does provide a lot of space, but in the areas where it is tight or near intersections, that's where there are some additional impacts.
I also have a question. Did you mention there were more driveways and roadways on the east side or the west side?
There were more on the west side,
Okay.
which is why the decision was made in that alternative to put the shared use path on the east side.
On the east side? I missed that.
Between
Yes, it's been moved, and the maps that have been on display and are online will show you those. Yes. So it's on the
so
east side now.
the green, if you're looking at the same map that I,
Is the green line is the shared use?
yes, that is correct.
Matt, as a tree city, do any of these alternatives impact trees more than others?
There are many aspects that are going to impact trees, not just where or if there is a sidewalk or a shared use path. One big consideration that has not been talked about at all, but is something that we're going to figure out after the alternative is selected, is maintenance of traffic during construction. Because right now it is a 2-lane roadway, so if there is temporary widening that is needed to maintain 2 lanes during construction, well, even if there's nothing going, that far out in the permanent condition, during construction, it may be needed to maintain two lanes of traffic. Or other alternatives that we could look at would be only having it be a one-way or...
Very political answer. I asked about trees.
Yes, and so
So
all of them will impact trees. And we don't have...
Do any of them impact trees more than the other? That was the question. Do we know that?
Charlie, I think we had done a preliminary investigation. I think there was, I want to say the number was like 69 mature native trees that are going to be taken out.
Regardless.
I mean, I imagine alternative 3.
I think that's in,
widest.
yeah.
I think if we want to talk in broad strokes, the alternative that has the biggest footprint, which is alternative 3, will have the most impacts, although it's not as simple as saying it's the biggest alternative, so it's going to impact the most trees. There are many other factors that will impact the trees.
I'd like to follow up with not
Once they
just
get the
trees,
saw going,
but
they don't care.
landscaping the road afterwards. Has that been talked about and to what extent?
Yeah, so Cook County has a tree replacement policy that...
I'm talking about the total landscaping.
Yep. So that's something that the study team has considered. So with Cook County, I don't quote me on this. I don't work for Cook County, but I'm just relaying what I remember them sharing. Trees are going to be replaced at a 1-to-1 ratio. So regardless of the size of the tree, if it's one tree that's being taken down, it'll be one tree that's put back. In addition, there was going to be restoration like sodding or moderate plantings that could be put back. I believe the village has talked about an enhanced tree replacement or landscaping policy to put things like hardscaping or other decorative items as part of the restoration. That would be kind of the village going above and beyond what is the minimum replacement of the county.
We've already put money in the budget
Yes.
Okay. Oh, so alternative 3, if that's, and I missed that somehow, if the shared use road, walkway, whatever it is on the east side, that's going to come really close to the townhomes over there.
Yes, and you can see the map. It's rolled up in the back if you'd like to see that. All of the lines on the map, if anybody wants to see the maps, they are online. But if you would like to see a larger map, we still have them here, and you can come to Village Hall and see those maps. We also have trees on the maps as well. So if you want to recalibrate with those different options, you can look at the maps in the back.
I walked it a long time ago. I walked from the middle of the road, 33 feet or whatever it is, over to the other side, and those townhomes will be shaking hands with the cars going by.
Right, and if you want to see exactly where those are, where the right-of-way is, because the right-of-way for some of those is indeed where you're saying.
Yeah.
So the Cook County right-of-way is, in some of those cases, right up to the townhomes, correct? Where they have doors, there's 4, I think, that have doors pointing that way. So you can see that on the map if you'd like to see it, and we can roll them out if you'd like to see them, Eileen,
Okay.
as well as
Yeah.
the trees.
Yep.
Are we going to just talk about it? Are we going to vote on one of them, or what are we going to do?
No, this is just for discussion. I wanted to make sure that everybody had seen an update on where we're at. Matt's going to talk a little bit about the schedule of what we're going to do next as far as picking an alternative. So I just wanted everyone to level set where we're at, what the data is. We've all been very busy with other things, so I wanted to recalibrate everyone back to the project. And then Matt's going to talk about what the next steps are going to be.
Just to follow up, I appreciate that, because I was one of those that really had to do a lot of reading before it came to catch up. But my question is, will we as a governing body make a recommendation at some point?
The village will be making a recommendation. We will not be voting on it as a village board. So
How will the decision be made?
you give feedback to Gavin and tell us what you're thinking, and we will make the decision and have the decision made with Strand and bring that to the county. So the village is going to make the decision based on your feedback, but we are not going to have a formal vote on it as far as the,
I'd like to have a vote.
okay? Anybody want
Not
to
right
talk about
now,
that?
not right now. I think maybe.
Well, we have a corridor advisory council, and we have a PIP, and it's not a normal course of action from the county's perspective, and from my perspective, thinking that we're going to vote on this. I wanted
Do we have a
consensus here to talk about.
Do we have a corridor meeting prior to when we expect the decision to be made?
No.
So
So-
that's not really an effective
Well, talk about
body then.
what you think. What is your feeling about the options? If we have a consensus, we don't have to have a vote, guys.
No, but I don't know how are we going to come to that consensus?
You're going to get the feedback into Gavin.
So I'll
How
give
do you
my
feel
feedback
about the
to
three
you, but I'd
options?
like to, I don't know, somehow I think I need to have it more formalized, you know?
Get your feedback into Gavin, and then let's talk about what we're all feeling, like we
Okay.
did with this process. We had a public feedback period. Now we're having a board feedback period. So please get your feedback back to Gavin, and if you have any questions, we can get the maps out, right? We don't want to rush to judgment on this here. We want you to look at the maps. We want you to look at the data. It just got put online a couple days ago, people's feedback. I printed it all out. It was, 60-some pages of feedback. So if you want to see what the community wants, it's all online for you to see, and I would suggest you all look at that. So we don't want to just have a vote right now. We want your feedback. We want you to have a moment to look at to look at our community's feedback. And then any questions or feedback that you have, please get that into Gavin.
I'm sorry, I seem to have misspoke. I wasn't asking for a vote now, but I'm saying at some point, I understand we'll get a consensus, but I'd like for that, once we talk about it and get I don't know, I think the consensus to me, if we as Indian Head Park are making a recommendation or to the committee, that it ought to be more formalized in terms of a vote.
Well, let's get a consensus, and then we can talk about it.
Okay.
If we have a consensus, then I don't believe we need a vote. I think we can come to the county and tell them what we want, based on our feedback and based on our residents' feedback in the community. So all of our feedback is going to have to be considered, right? So let's get the consensus, what the board thinks, into Gavin over the next 5 to 10 days, and then we'll move forward with, I don't even know what your consensus is, so it'll be interesting to see what everybody wants. Yes.
Wait, this is just a concept, it's not the actual project, and that's why we're not actually voting on the project, we're saying an alternative concept that the public has given us feedback overwhelmingly towards one alternative is what then needs to be discussed with the county, so then can they design based on that feedback. There's no point in voting on a concept that doesn't actually have costs, to square meters of sidewalk, where the road goes, et cetera. It's just a concept.
Let's move forward and see where we go with it,
Well,
okay?
On that note, the county's already indicated whether you pick alternative 1, 2, or 3, they would support that particular choice, didn't they say that?
Yes. So,
Would Indian Head Park, then?
yes. So we will get your consensus. This is what you've seen in the design alternatives, I think, is important to understand, as Christina is saying. This has been created in crayons. I think it's important to understand what we have seen. It has not been engineered. It is a crayon drawing of the roadway or the alternative. And I know that seems to be a very basic way to put it, but the county has told us that once we pick what we think as a community we want, then they are going to fine tune it with the engineers, the traffic engineers, the stormwater engineers, all of the people that have to be involved in this, the federal government with the Federal Highway Transportation Safety Administration and all of that. Then when they come back with this in, I think it's 18 to 24 months. Is it 18 months?
Yeah, so after the decision is made, Strand and our team is going to go back and actually start figuring out everything and coordinating with the Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration, and that alone is going to take at least a year because we have to do all of the calculations and figure out sizing of pipes and designing of bridges and everything like that. So there's a lot of work that we're going to be doing on our side that's going to take at least a year before we come back to a third public meeting and say, here are the final impacts. We can actually tell you this offset and this line is, where the grading limits are or what property is impacted. But until we know where sidewalk is or is not, or where shared use path is or is not, we can't move forward and actually get to those answers.
No, but if we give a recommendation or get a consensus here, I mean, I know this isn't true to what's going to happen, but alternative 1 is drastically different than alternative 3. So we can assume that alternative 1 is going to take up less space than alternative 3. That's what we would be voting on or coming to a consensus on.
Right, based on also the feedback the community gave us in their vote.
Of course.
So I think we're all tracking on the same thing. I think we're going to have the ability to see a highly detailed plan in about a year, hopefully, and then we'll be able to go to the public with a more detailed plan of the roadway and the impacts of the roadway. So until we give them that preference, then we can get to that next step. So if you have feedback, if you have any questions, if you want to see maps, whatever you need to look at the data, please let Gavin know, and we can support that effort. Any other questions for Matt?
All right, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. All righty, moving right along to the consent agenda. Can we have a motion for the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second that motion then.
Any discussion, questions on the consent agenda? Can we please have the financial report, please, Treasurer?
Yes, the Village of Indian Head Park financial summary for the month ending January 2025. Cash on hand at December 31st, 2024 was $253,000. Let me start that over.
Yes. Please.
Cash on hand December 31st, 2024 was $3,253,208.92. Our payments for the month of January 2025 were $729,929.34. Our revenues for January 2025 were $446,072.41, making our ending bank balance at January 31st, 2025, $2,969,351.99.
Thank you, Treasurer. Are there any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, Clerk?
Trustee Saldana.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Clerk. Moving on to new business, could I have a motion, please, for item A?
Yeah, this is Public Works items. Request motion to approve Resolution 2502, declaration of surplus
Second.
surplus property, excuse me.
Second by Trustee Saldana. All righty, Gavin, this is yours?
Yes, this is the truck that has been utilized by our building official and our code enforcement team. It's no longer functional, and we are asking that you declare it as surplus property so that we may auction it off as authorized by state statutes.
Question. 2024 Ford Explorer is no longer functional?
It's a 2014,
Okay. We have a
and
typo.
it was used
Makes sense.
to an extreme by the police department, so. It's not your average 2014.
They wrote 2024, that's
I guess if we can amend the Resolution 2025, amending that to 2014, not 2024, that answers my question. Thanks.
The resolution itself has the correct year on it.
Yeah, the resolution is
It's
correct.
just the memo.
It's just
I apologize.
the summary is wrong, that's all.
All righty, any other questions regarding our surplus property? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please, Clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item B, please. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 2025-03, the agreement with Safe Build for on-call planning consultant services.
Second?
So staff issued an RFQ for planning and economic development services. We received one response back, and that was from Safe Built, and it really focused only on the planning and zoning services. Safe Built would provide a team of certified planners that would provide work for the Planning and Zoning Commission on any special use or variance or text amendment applications that come before the Planning and Zoning Commission. They'd help us with the analysis of those. They would also do permit review. They would help us with bigger projects like zoning code updates, comprehensive plan, developing a new comprehensive plan, helping us to adopt new building codes, and they would also do special projects like reviewing any changes for fence code in our ordinances, that things that we've been talking about since I got here, but haven't had the resources to dedicate to moving the ball forward on those things. So Andres is here. He wrote the RFQ. He has been in communication with Safe Built. He can answer any questions that you have.
Any questions on the Safe Built RFQ and proposal?
Where are they located?
Corporate, I don't know where.
There, it's listed here somewhere.
Their corporate office is, they're an international company, but for Statesville, Illinois, they're located out of Bloomingdale, I believe is their head office.
It looks like it's Loveland, Colorado.
Right. Their project office is Oak Brook.
Yeah. It's on page 3.
Oh, that's right. Their account manager is out of Bloomingdale. in Massachusetts.
Right.
Any other questions on the Safe Built proposal and agreement? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin,
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger,
Aye.
Trustee Zvetka,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
6-0, the motion carries.
Item C, new business. Can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve 2025-04, which is the work on the key code media here in the boardroom and the audio-visual upgrades.
Second.
So we will get new cameras, new operating equipment, and it will improve our broadcast of our board meetings. And I want to be sure to note that the original proposal from Key Code Media for this project was going to be $58,000. We brought it down by $13,000 because, or by $15,000, sorry, because our staff is going to be doing the work to pull the cables from back in the corner where our station manager sits and to all of the cameras. So that's going to save us $13,000 by doing that, and $15,000, I'm sorry, by doing that in-house. So I want to thank the Public Works Department for doing that and let you know that we're being responsible. Another item that's important to note is that this funding will all be covered by the West Cook Cable Agency, which is funded by cable franchise fees.
So no net cost to the village then?
Correct.
So that's great that we're having all of our new equipment, seeing that Andres's microphone tonight has been, and I think Matt's, it'd be nice to have microphones that work well, and we have an upgrade, so thank you.
And I promise that we didn't set that up.
All righty, if there are no more questions, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee O'Laughlin,
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger, Trustee Zvetka,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
6-0, the motion carries.
Moving on to item D, please. Could we have a motion?
I moved approval of the Municipal Safety Program Agreement with the Office of the State Fire Marshal.
I second it. Sorry.
All righty, Gavin?
This is necessary for compliance with the elevator requirements of the state, and it's all presented there before you. If you have any questions, Andres can answer those.
Just to give a little bit background information.
Shake it.
Yeah, just.
I'll just project like my high school teacher used to tell me to. It is to run our own elevator inspection services. Basically go out, we have a company that does an elevator
Yeah, we
inspection
discussed
services
it
out
at the
Burr Ridge.
Finance Committee meeting.
Run that program, we have to have a contract with
elevator inspection services, EIS.
No, it's not it.
Contractor, let us know, by the way, hey, you don't have this, so you come in, we sign it, we send it to the fire marshal, and we keep doing it for cheaper and better than having state money.
Alrighty, any questions on that elevator inspection agreement with them? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Trustee Svetka,
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item E. The last new business item, just so you all know.
Move approval of task order 01-2025 with Thomas Engineering for the MWRD reporting.
I'll second that.
Okay, this is another requirement for MWRD. We have to submit an annual report about any sanitary sewer overflows that may impact the water system that MWRD is charged with keeping clean and healthy. And again, it's an annual requirement. They will work closely with Joe to gather the necessary data to submit our report to MWRD.
Any questions on services from Thomas Engineering? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, clerk.
Trustee Saldana,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin,
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger,
Aye.
Trustee Svetka,
Aye.
Trustee Gazis.
Aye.
6-0, the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to public comments. It's now that time of the meeting where we can have the public come to the podium and provide public comments. Andres, did we receive any emails today? Okay, no emails. Would someone like to come and speak to the board? All righty. Oh,
We
Anthony.
have several.
My name is Anthony Iannacco. I'm in board president of Indian Woods Townhomes, just south of Joliet Road. Reason why I'm here today is just to kind of give our reasoning on why alternative one is important to us, especially with the sidewalks. And the one thing that we didn't see in there was a crossway. As a parent of two young kids, we have a lot of young kids that now have moved in to our HOA community. The middle school is right there, and the park district as well. It is quite dangerous trying to walk towards the middle school as well as the park district, as there's no sidewalks. There's also no crossing paths till you get all the way down to the end of the park district. So where I think alternative one is nice, and we do agree with it, it would be good to see if we can have that right-of-way passage, that crossing passage closer to the other end or closer to where our community ends. And it's not just us. I've spoken to the other board presidents at Flag Creek and the Chestnut and the Green. So we had a meeting last summer where we discussed it. So I think we're all in agreement for alternative one, but the one part I think that was really missing was the crossway. But how important those sidewalks are to us. I see kids all the time on a regular basis because how muddy it gets. There's actually a huge hole right where Burr Ridge and Indian Head Park meet. There's a huge hole where there was once a tree. And that fills up with water and mud, and there's constantly people falling in it. So everybody walks on Wolf Road. And there's just a tiny little path. So it's constant between people almost getting hit by cars or trying to walk and avoid it. So it's very important to us, just for safety concerns in general.
Is that hole on the right of the county right away? Or is that on private property?
No, it's on county property. 'Cause
Okay.
otherwise it would be our property.
Okay, so why don't we take a picture of that and email me? We have a great relationship with the maintenance crew at the county.
Okay.
And they tell us to report items like this. So the gentleman's name, Superintendent Ed Tully.
Okay.
You might have noticed a lot of the trimming this year. We've had several meetings with them. So if there's something like a public safety issue like that, we can notify them right away. If you can send pictures, that would be great.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah,
Perfect.
we've paid to fill it in multiple times, but it just washes away with the rain. So once that sidewalk does hopefully get in, that would take away half the battle.
So yeah, if you would do that, that would be
Okay.
great. Then we can see, what could be done, when, and all of that.
Okay, thank you.
And that goes for any issue on the roadway. Please let us know, especially if it's an emergency. If it is an emergency, they do have an emergency crew, and they've told us that, so we can figure that out with them. Thank you. Any other comments?
Kind of tall. Good evening. My name is Jackie Gallagher, and I am here representing the Ashbrook Estate Homeowners Association. I'm on the board of directors there. I just want to share with you that the estate homeowners accept and put forward alternative design 1. We had 22 homeowners represented on our petition, and we've had numerous discussions with the board and with our homeowners, and we feel that that's the most accessible plan for the pedestrians, for the cars, and for the other members of our community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joanne Tesmond, and I am on the Ashbrook Townhome Board, and I'm here representing the Townhome Association Board as well as 51 residents. We are unanimously in favor of alternative number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Karen Barthel from the Indian Ridge Condo Association. Our board is met. We've talked to our residents. We also favor alternative 1. It's the least invasive, and we certainly support Ashbrook and Acacia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Wright, and I'm the president of the Acacia Board. And I have been in the community as a resident here in Indian Head Park in Acacia for about 34 years. And I am here to, on behalf of our association and our residents in Acacia and Indian Head Park, that we support alternative 1. And I have to say that for a lot of different reasons. We have 28, or possibly I think more, I think it's 28 homeowners that are on our end of this side. And if we were to put those sidewalks in, the construction itself is very damaging to the well-being of those residents. It will, the time to do the construction there, these homeowners are just faced up, like right up to that construction. And I can say personally, I know how that will really upset their well-being, because when there was construction done behind my home, I'm right on Acacia Drive, and there was the underground reservoir, I believe that's what it was, that was taking place, and the construction was right up to the back of my house, and the digging and back and forth, it shook my house. It was very disturbing, and day after day, the power lines were out. Didn't have internet, just on and on of different things, of just fighting, being very angry and upset. And I'm just one person. And while I did voice my opinion on what to do with that, the ground behind my house is still not steady. It's all bumpy, and the landscaping did not get replaced. They dug out a lot of the plants and trees that I had there for many years. I have videos when they cut down a tree that I called my friend, and I watched that come down. So, I'm just here to really support that. But as personally seeing how this can happen, it's just one person, but the 28 there, I went and spoke to every single one of those homeowners that I could reach, and they, were all opposed to this idea. And I did personally collect the 69 signatures and talk to everyone about their decision. Do you want this or you don't? To make a decision and to get their signatures. So I'm here on behalf of those 69 people. I believe that we probably could have received more feedback, but I'm only one person to represent of what I can do, and that's what I did. I am here also to challenge the 126 signatures on what's called SARA on behalf of Acacia and the board and Indian Head Park, those residents, because when you look at those signatures, you know, they're Chicago, they're different towns, they're not the residents here. And the one person who was behind that, without saying a name, is also part of our Acacia Association, and I know that he was very much involved in the administration here at one point. So I just have to say that, you know, to be able to, for that particular, what they call Sarah, if they were to have talked to any of the residents in Acacia or those 28 homes or anyone else, I really don't think that we would have received that number. So I just want to say that it's really, really, really important to look at the source of where that came from and the people that want to support the alternative one, and please do consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jack Brandish, and I live at 15 Deer Crest and in Acacia, and I do support option number 1. However, whatever option that is picked, the traffic going into Acacia is going to be a nightmare during construction. And I hope maybe someone would consider an entrance on the east side of Acacia on Laurel into Briarwood as a temporary option to get into Acacia when construction does take place. So I hope that is considered in the alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there room back there? Any other comments this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to reports. Mr. Gazis, Trustee Gazis, do you have a report?
No report.
Trustee Sveska?
Also no report at this time, thank you.
Trustee Donnersberger?
Well, I have 2 reports. We're working, we put together sort of an ad hoc committee to work on the Heritage Center. As we all know, it's coming down probably in the next couple of weeks. And so there's a group of us looking to see what should go in there to replace it. We're making good progress. There's also going to be, before we make any decisions, so we're sending out a survey to the residents, which should go out in the next couple of weeks. We're going to time the survey going out with the destruction of the Heritage Center because we believe people will see it's coming down and wonder what the heck's happening. So we will get their attention and maybe get more surveys back. We're also continuing to explore ways to improve the triangle, and including working on developing a tax increment financing district. It's very complicated, it takes a long time, but we're working on it. Oh, and one of our members, Craig Fisher, is working on a reception for the businesses in the community, not just in the triangle, but in the community, to help them improve their internet presence and maybe get more business. That's going to take place on February 27th at 4 o'clock right here. So if you go to visit any of our businesses, mention it to them, and hopefully they'll join us.
Thank you. Brenda?
No report.
East Drag Hunt. Maybe? East Drag Hunt? Oh. Trustee Eck?
2 brief ones. Finance Committee, we're making progress towards best practices. We'll be meeting monthly on the budget through April, and then we're going to take a look and see if a quarterly meeting would be more appropriate than a monthly meeting. We're also on Public Works. We have been meeting monthly on that. We're also going to be looking at whether or not a quarterly meeting would be more appropriate, as staff is making great strides in getting things organized, and as has been pointed out, don't need our day-to-day supervision. We're also going to be talking about our franchise tax, our franchise for scavenger, and we've had SBC for 5 years, and that's coming up, and so we're going to be sending some notices out to associations as well as individuals relative to their feelings in regards to the scavenger service that's being provided, and staff is coordinating that. Are you going to talk about that later, Gavin?
I did have it in my report.
Okay.
Do you feel like you've covered it sufficiently, though?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Saldana.
No report.
Village clerk.
Okay, so just briefly, Gavin wished that worked in normal every day in the office. Anyway, so you have in front of you, this is a report that is all the permits that were done in 2024. So you can see all the ones that came in and out. Really, the last page has a summary on it. If you look at the bottom, the total number that were applied for was 119. The total number that were issued was 111, and those construction cost values are $2.5 million and $2 million roughly each on that. The other report for the clerk's office we had was in 2024, 40 FOIAs were responded to. So you can see kind of what our weekly we get about 1 or 2 FOIAs, a week, but then we hit dry spells. Didn't have any in January, then I got 2 this week, so. And the last bit of information from the village clerk is that the reminder that on April 1st, there is a municipal election here. We will be hosting an election site as well. There are 3 trustee positions up for that, as well as other local and state referendums that'll be on the ballot. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to call us, ask us about it. We can point you in the right direction. Thank you.
Question on that in regards to the permits that were issued. I understand that AT&T is looking to install some fiber cable. I know they're looking at the 2 associations in Ashbrook. We've had some conversations on that. And I think they filed for the west of Wolf Road in 45 acres and that area yet? Have they filed for the permit yet?
I don't believe that they have. Thank you, by the way, for keeping me up to date on that one. Last I saw was, which we were on, I think you sent it to me as well, was that they are waiting on Cook County to do it, to get a permit so they can kind of do it all in the same, because I believe that the west of Wolf Road does touch some of that right of way, so the entirety of their project will have to have some Cook County approval on it. And our part for it is we monitor it, we make sure that they're going to have some restoration on it. But per code, per village code, it's kind of very hard for us to how much we can license a state utility and permit them. So it's a little trickier than normal permits, but yeah, thank you for keeping me up to date on that and with all the different information going on there as well.
Good.
And we have Strand gave us the maps. We talked about this last week, so we know exactly what the work, not exactly, we have a list of maps of what the work is.
Yes, we have outlines on where they're going to be. It's kind of them more dotting their I's with the county on this respect than necessarily us on that. When they come in, myself and Joe Coons keep an eye on it. Public Works Director Joe Coons, because they'll be working in our right of way. We make sure that they're not going to be hitting any of our stuff. We try to see if maybe there's something, if they're going to disturb any of our stuff, if there's something we can do to keep that to a minimum, or on a couple occasions, we've kind of piggybacked on their work to get something done. So if we were going to do something later on, we were only disturbing the area like once. I think that was bringing electricity to Sacagawea Park was the most recent one that we did. So I think if I remember correctly.
Thank you.
Village treasurer,
No report.
village attorney, village administrator.
I'll start with the Public Works report. Joe couldn't be here tonight, so he sent me a report. The final portion of the pump house project has been completed. The pump house interior walls were painted by staff. We're going to be doing the floors this spring, and then if we can find the money in next year's budget, we're going to be redoing the roof of the pump house. But all of the major project of the rehabilitation of the interior of the pump house and all the new equipment and new pumps and new computer system for keeping our water supply clean and pumping has been completed. So that project is done. And we've gotten the final billing for that, and it came in under budget and by a little bit. The Village Hall fire suppression system repairs have been completed. We're just getting some quotes for some drywall repairs to finish that out, but we did have an emergency where it impacted the finance office, and that will be back up and running soon. The system is running. We are now, we're no longer under a fire watch because our fire suppression system is working just fine. We got grants through IRMA, our liability insurer, for a new Tommy gate for the new truck that we recently purchased. And we put in, staff put in all new backup cameras in all the vehicles that will also be covered by the grant. The grant total is $3,000 for the cameras and hardware. And Public Works was able to spend less than $2,000 of that. We received recognition from ComEd for our switch over to LED lighting for this building as well as Public Works building. And we're happy to have that award, and we'll put out some information online about that. I've already explained that. The road program, for the 24-25 budget this current year. Bid opening is scheduled for February 24th for the work to be completed by May 2nd. And this is the same project that was approved in the fall with some additional ditch work added, including resurfacing areas in 45 acres and some various patchwork around the village. Our Tree City USA application has passed through the state level, and we're waiting on the Arbor Day Foundation for approval of that. This will be, I believe, our 35th year as a Tree City USA. We're also applying for the Growth Award, which is an extra step above just being a Tree City. And that's the Public Works report. I'll throw it to our police.
Okay. I'm going to give you a report of what we're going to do for moving forward is the top 5 calls per month that we have, and I'll report those. We had 242 premise checks, 91 traffic stops, 49 assist ambulance, 21 assist citizens, and 14 alarm calls. Now, that can change based on the calls for service, but that's what we had this month. We also had a total of 522 total calls. On January 28th, I had the honor to go over to LaGrange Park Village Hall and present the police department there, Police Chief Contoy, and the entire police department with the Award of Excellence for all their assistance they gave us with our incident on August 28th, 2024, where the victim was shot trying to just sell some jewelry or some items over Facebook Marketplace. Chief Contoy received the award. There was 2 sergeants and 3 other officers, but the whole department as a whole was given an award because it did an excellent job, so I was honored to be able to do that. We're working right now on trying to identify 2 for the academy. We've contacted a couple of people already. We have some that have interest. We just have to do their backgrounds and get them going. I would like to talk to the mayor, and I talked to Brenda and Trustee O'Laughlin and Trustee Gazis about getting them an early start like we did last time. It was very beneficial for the 2 officers that are currently in the academy. They had a head start. They know the geography. They know how we do our paperwork. Now they're getting through the police academy there, and then once they get back, it should shorten probably half the time for them in their training program. So that's very beneficial. That's what we're going to do. Officer Bischoff was cut loose from his FTO program. He's officially assigned to patrol. The mailbox offender, Next court date is April 17th, 9 a.m., Bridgeview Courthouse, room 207. I don't have much confidence it'll appear,
Yeah.
but that's the date. We're also pursuing new leads to identify the other offender in the incident. On August 28th, our officers went down to the jail, talked to one of the offenders, and we have some very promising leads to follow up on. We're also, we've been very fortunate to get a bunch of part-time officers, or interest in part-time officers. We're trying to get them onboarded as we speak now, doing the testing and different things, because they still have to pass the background. We just don't hire them. They have to pass the psych and the polygraph, and then we offer them employment. So that's where I'm at with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Can I say one more thing? Amy Jo?
Sure. Yes.
I was remiss that I didn't thank Gavin and the staff for all their hard work in clearing out the Heritage Center. I'm sure took a long time and a lot of muscle power, as well as the volunteers the people who have volunteered up there over the last couple of years, especially 2 or 3 of them have been really helpful in redirecting the books. Are they going overseas or something?
Yes, some were donated to a nonprofit that distributes books far and wide. Some we have placed in storage at the Public Works Garage.
Okay.
And
then there's this big, what is that? It looks like a trombone, but it cannot be a trombone.
that is a tuba,
Tuba,
a
tuba.
euphonium, and there's also a trombone back there.
Oh, okay.
All of the other instruments were donated to the Flag Creek Historical Society.
Okay.
There's also, if anyone would like to purchase a 1916 upright player piano that
You
is
said you were going to give it
inoperable.
away.
Doesn't work.
I can't find anybody to give it away
One
to.
will take it.
Then why would you ask for money? If they don't want it for free, why do you say anyone wants to?
Let me know if you're in the market for one of those pianos.
Is that still in the,
Yes, it is still we are not moving it until somebody wants it.
otherwise?
Yep.
I have checked in with some experts on piano restoration, and there is not a market for this piano.
All righty. Are any other questions or comments before we get a motion for?
I had some
do you have something
things to
else?
say.
Did you have something else to say?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I know I'm normally shy, but not tonight. I wanted to talk a little bit real quick about office hours. As you know, we're open until 7 p.m. every Thursday, and Lucy Sanders, our administrative assistant, comes in late on those days and stays late on those days. On other days, we're open to the public until 4. We've been tracking visitors for the past year, and we have anywhere from 0 to 2. And most Thursday nights is 0. There is some seasonality to it. When vehicle stickers are being sold, there is more business. So what we would like to do, if there are no objections from the board, is to begin staying open late once per month, one Thursday per month, on the last Thursday, other than November because that's Thanksgiving. But we would start that in March. We'd get the word out to everybody in the public about what those hours are. We'd change the decal on our front window that has our hours, and we'd put it out on the website. But we would also continue to assess it. Like I said, it's seasonal, so in the summertime, we'd probably look at doing more days, and we would announce those days that we're open late to sell vehicle stickers.
So for the vehicle stickers,
Yes, ma'am.
can they buy them online and then you mail them?
Yes.
So
and-
there's absolutely no need to come in person unless.
Right.
Okay.
Unless you just like to see our
Absolutely
faces.
like to see you, yeah.
But, and we're going to really, we're looking at some changes to the vehicle sticker program that would make it even easier to purchase them online. So, Charlie mentioned our waste hauling. Right now, where we're at is we're collecting community feedback as we prepare for a new waste hauling franchise agreement. This input's going to help us shape how we design our requests for proposals. We've gotten 50 responses so far, but if you find yourself wanting to fill out a survey, go to our website. It's on our homepage, and there's a link for that, and you can fill that out. And we'll have an RFP ready to go by the end of the month and get that out to have companies bid on providing waste hauling services to the community. We already talked about the Heritage Center. Where we're at right now is we still need NICOR and ComEd to disconnect their services to the building, and they're waiting on permits at this time. And after they get those, yes, from the county, and when they get those permits, we'll be ready to go. We've talked at the last meeting about Committee of the Whole. That is scheduled for February 27th at 7 p.m. And we will have the option for those of you on the board who will be out of town to join remotely. Topics for this meeting will be a third quarter review of FY25, a discussion of 25 and 26 goals, and a little bit of budget prioritization. So we'll have the budget ready to be discussed. We've brought a lot of the parts of the budget to the Finance Committee, and we'll have that all put together in time for you all to review it before that meeting.
There's not going to be any votes, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So the Committee of the Whole is structured that way on purpose, so that the focus is just on discussions, but no decisions, no final decisions will be made. And finally, we have a team from UIC, a team of graduate students doing their capstone project on key performance measures. So they're helping us develop a performance measurement program. The short-term goal is to help us with developing some of the planning for the 25-26 budget. But the longer-term, big-picture goal is to establish a culture of data-driven decision-making for the village. One of the deliverables they'll be providing us is a dashboard with key performance indicators that will be constantly updating and really allow us to talk about all the great things we're doing at the village for the benefit of the community. So I'm looking forward to those results. The final project will be delivered to us in May. So, and finally, Eileen has asked me a number of times if there's anything significant about those paintings back there. Andres and I did some digging today. They were painted in 1984 by an artist named Kenneth Sue, S.U. He was born in 1901, died in 2000, and that's about all we know. Some of he's known for painting portraits of Native Americans, and his paintings are on sale online, anywhere from $75 to $300.
They don't look like paintings, but they are, huh?
They are.
Yeah.
So that's it. They were painted in 1984. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Any
We have our
questions
ways.
on any of Gavin's items? So Committee of the Whole is scheduled, so hopefully, I know we have 2 members that will be remote.
So I have a question about that.
Yeah.
And, certainly this is just a request. But anyway, it's at 7 o'clock, which is going to be 8 o'clock where we are. Wondering if we could, is it an inconvenience to have it make 6:30 or something?
We have that business owner's reception in this room.
Oh, that's it.
That evening.
Okay,
And I'm afraid it's going to bump into
right.
this meeting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I make a request to get clarification because of the Open Meetings Act? We do have to have a vote at the very beginning of the meeting to allow for remote participation. Even though we're not going to have votes after that, I think that we're supposed to have a vote to allow for remote participation.
The way you would look at this one is to my understanding, the purpose for which members would be participating remotely are not the purposes for which the Open Meetings Act would ordinarily allow. Since no action is going to be taken, it's effectively, they're participating over speakerphone or whatever mechanism. No votes are going to be taken.
For a discussion.
The important thing is that the meeting has been noticed, the public is available. Since no formal action can be taken or will be taken, the fact that people are participating remotely is not particularly significant.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, just
there
wanted
would
to
not be
clarify.
It would not be a vote that would be taken because the reasons for which the remote participation in a formal meeting like this would not be present.
It will not be present. Okay, thank you. Just clarifying.
Gavin, you'd mentioned some of the items to be discussed at the meeting. Could you send us the agenda on that, please?
Oh, certainly, certainly.
Prior to the day of the meeting.
And yes, and if you have other items that you want to talk about, for example, if you wanted to talk about fences, which I just feel like is coming up, or if you wanted to talk about the waste hauling, or if you wanted to talk about Wolf Road, let me know.
Was there a comment that you wanted to make on that, Jim? Okay. I do believe that, is that going to be on the agenda for the committee of the whole?
It certainly can be. It's come up a number of times recently. So.
I'll make a comment.
Yes.
One of the agenda items on the committee of the whole, I have requested a review of the code, and it will go to the planning commission regarding fences and fence variances in conjunction with the Wolf Road expansion for preliminary discussion. I know it's been a little bit of a hot button in the village over the last few decades, but with everything that's changing with our footprint and the code and our new planning consultant, I think it's time to open up that discussion and have that dialogue transparent and open to all.
And we've had a lot of feedback about fences in the Wolf Road feedback, and I think that it, because of the feedback we've gotten from the public about safety, Gavin and I have gotten several emails from people that it's time that we have this discussion. So that will be on the agenda at the committee of the whole. Just so the public knows, there won't be no action taken at that meeting. It's a discussion and dialogue, so feel free to come and hear all of the wonderful things. It will be on, I believe it'll be on Channel 6 and YouTube if we arrange that with David. So the 27th, David, that might be, hopefully you can come over and do that for us. Is there public comments at a committee of the whole?
Yes, there would need to be a period of public comment.
So yes, we can entertain comments according to council on that date. So please join us. We've just had one of these committee of the wholes. This is a way for our board to actually discuss items in more detail without taking action on them. So it'll be a great opportunity for us to talk about goal setting and other things in detail. I think it's that time of the meeting where I need a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I second it.
And can we have all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned.